My dad taught me the importance of valuing relationships and building bonds that can withstand the test of time.
One of the most rewarding parts of working in the business is really working with your family and working with your coworkers who really you see as your extended family.
My grandfather started this business at the age of 55. It's something today where people wouldn't even think about it. He loved being with his customers. Until he literally couldn't drive, he would have a driver take him around just so he could see his customers. And some of those customers are still with us today.
We grew up 500 feet from my grandparents. I was always very close to my grandparents and my grandmother in particular growing up. She had a passion for the community, managing different projects and working on different causes. It was inspirational.
One of the greatest lessons I've learned from my father is giving back. I remember as a kid I had to earn my allowance, taking out the garbage, mowing the lawn, and when the time came we'd sit down and he'd write me a check for the money I'd earned, but we'd also talk about organizations and people in need that we could support. To me, giving is truly living, and I learned this from my father, and for that I'm so grateful.
When I was a young kid, my mom was out in sales and she had a station wagon. I was responsible for carrying the boxes into the customer. So we'd go to Solomon's Market on Benefit Street and I'd have to stack up the boxes. If I did a good job, he'd give me a bubblegum candy cigarette. And I guess that's when I realized that it's all about taking care of the customer.
When my dad turned 50, I remember talking at his 50th birthday, and I used the story about everything I learned in kindergarten, but actually my speech was everything I learned from my father.
In a family business, family always has to have its place. And my dad always made time for the family, as hard as he may have been working in the business.
My dad was very thoughtful about making sure we had that time to spend together, and we saw a lot of great national parks.
These trips to the national parks, I remember my dad making meticulous daily itineraries. It was a really special time and one that continues to touch my life.
My dad gave me two choices. He said, you can either go to a really good school or you can get a new car. And if you go to the good school, you get a beat up old salesman's car. And I took the crappy car, because to me, it keeps us real. I'd always want Bob Joubert's car because he kept it super neat.
When I thought about why I wanted to join the business, is really that I wanted to come home. The opportunity to work with your family, the trust and the belief that we have in each other. It's special. It's really unique to grow up with your family and then to come back and work together with your brother and dad.
My dad let me take some great chances that have paid off. I found this very dusty can of the San Marzano tomatoes. And so I asked my dad and I said, hey Dad, what about these tomatoes? Oh no, you have to buy a truckload. So I decided to call Bill. Bill said to me, I'm gonna give you a half truckload at the truckload price. Only condition is you don't tell your dad. And now this has grown to be one of our deepest partnerships and our most successful brands. I think about this little account called Bread and Circus. I remember when I first started, my dad said to me, pay attention to this Bread and Circus account. This has now morphed into Whole Foods Market and a wonderful partnership. One of the prerequisites that I didn't know when I first joined the business is that you got to share an office with your dad. I remember the day where we switched desks. It was a big deal.
You know, everyone says it can be a challenge working a family business, but it also could be the most rewarding thing.
Family to me is not just about the Eisenbergs, it's about our dedicated employees, it's about our loyal vendors. And to me that's one big circle. And I want to thank my father and I want to thank my grandparents for giving us the opportunity to be here.